Hello class, today we're going to be finishing up chapter 15, and so we're going to go through patterns of evolution, and in your notes packet you have these three already listed if you're going to use that with columns that you can write in to compare these three patterns of evolution. So these are the three ways that evolution or change over time among species can happen. The first is coevolution. And if you think about that word, coevolution, that means two or more things evolving together. So they have evolved, two or more species have evolved adaptations that influence each other. So as one evolves, the other one evolves because they work together. They have to evolve together in order to both survive. So some examples, predator-prey examples, as a predator changes over time, the prey is also going to change over time. Now, does the prey actually think about it? No, but the ones that are going to survive are the ones that have adapted or have the mutation or have the ability to continue to survive. And that means they are naturally changing based on what the predator is doing. Parasite host, very similar. Plant animal pollinator, so bee and flower. And an example here, humans have developed and used antibiotics to kill bacteria. The bacteria that have survived, or what we would say evolved, are antibiotic resistant. And so basically they're the ones that had the genetics that allowed that bacteria to survive beyond what the antibiotic was doing, which then that's the bacteria that we see now. So that's what we would call evolution. Now, were the genetics there before? Sure. But now we see a lot more of that type of bacteria because they have survived through the antibiotic. Another one is convergent evolution, and in this one, when you converge, you bring two things together. So organisms appear to be similar, but they're not related at all. And they're not related at all through other characteristics that they particularly have. So the environment will select similar traits. In this case, they have fins. These two organisms, sharks and dolphins, have fins that look similar, but the reason is because they live in similar environments. So they result in analogous structures. An example here, dolphin and shark. And then divergent evolution is when you have an organism that starts as one kind of common ancestor, and then they diverge to be two different things. They evolve differently from each other over time. And so in this one, biological characteristics become more and more dissimilar in response to their different habitats. So they have a different habitat, and so eventually over time, even though they were one particular species originally, they become two or more species because of their different habitats. A word that will go in this same column with divergent evolution is adaptive radiation. So in this, a new population in a new environment, like an island, will undergo evolution until the population fills many parts of the environment. So if we have one type of lizard here as an example, and it's eating one particular type of thing and living in one particular location, eventually, because the competition's so great, you'll see these, some of the lizards will go live in a new area or will start eating something different, and they become kind of a new species in that location. They take over a location or a food source that isn't being used. So it's just kind of like being resourceful. Instead of all fighting for the same type of food or living arrangement, they move to a different location. And eventually we start seeing this happen, and they fill up all the parts of the environment to be able to use the majority of the resources that are available to them. There's a lab that we'll be doing in class on this, on the anole lizards. There's a spot in your book as well that describes those. And then the last thing for this day of notes is artificial selection. And artificial selection is intentionally breeding, so humans do this, certain traits or combination of traits over other traits. So say you want a certain type of dog, they call these designer breeds. If you want a certain type of dog, then you might go to a breeder who is breeding two dogs that have specific traits you want, like maybe the dog doesn't shed, or it's very friendly, or it's very playful, and you want those types of traits. They do this with foods all the time, called genetic engineering, and so you get a tomato that's brighter in color or tastes better or has more juice, and those kinds of things. Okay, and that's the end of chapter 15. So our evidences of evolution and how individuals or how species evolve over time.